Hello, my name is Adjoa and I study biomedical science at the University of Warwick. In this video, I'll be sharing 5 tips for picking your 5 university options, especially because there's a plethora of universities that you could apply to in the UK. So I think it's very important to sort of weigh the different positives and negatives when it comes to the different universities to allow you to make the best decision for you. So tip number 1 is selecting your degree course. It's kind of obvious, but you're going to be studying there for 3 years, and the whole reason of you going to university is to further your education. So of course you're going to want to pick a uni that does the course that you want to do. You definitely want to be studying something that you enjoy. With this, you can also check the reputation that the university has when it comes to that subject. You can also have a look at the course content and the modules offered by the different universities so that you can get, a bit of an insight into what exactly the university offers when it comes to that subject. And again, this is very helpful because you want to kind of briefly understand what it is you're going into and what it is you're going to study. Okay, so that's tip number 1, and then now we're going to move on to tip number 2. And this tip is to check the entry requirements. So once you've narrowed down your university options based on those that provide or offer the course that you want to do, you would then have to look at the entry requirements for that specific course at that specific university. So with this, you kind of want to be realistic about picking universities that believe that you have a good chance of getting into, especially when you compare the entry requirements to your predicted grades or your performance in, for example, your A-levels. So essentially, you want to kind of have some unis that have a higher entry requirement and others that have a slightly lower entry requirement. And this way you increase your likelihood of getting into university in general. All of that being said, this is very relative, so it's going to differ between different students, different individuals. So you know yourself and you know where you want to go, you know your aspirations, so you can kind of use that as a guide to decide which universities you sort of apply to. Okay, so the next thing I want to speak about is location. The location of a university or a campus can really influence several factors when it comes to making your university choices. And for some people, location will be a really important decider, but it won't be as crucial for some other students. So it really, again, depends on you. For example, you might want to have a look at how far away from home you would be if you go to a specific university. So for some students, they won't want to go too far away from home. For others, they don't really mind. They can be far away. That is calm. Also, you might want to consider whether you'd prefer to study and live in a more busy, big city, or you're someone who prefers, a quiet rural area. Location can influence the social scene at university, so if that's something you would like to look into and that's something that is important to you, you would also want to have a look at that and see what works for you. Okay, so tip number 4 is researching or looking into the facilities offered by the different universities. And of course, different universities will offer different types of facilities. So for example, every university is probably going to have a library, but they're all going to offer different kind of things and have different features. So depending on what is important to you and what is necessary to make your whole university experience, you could then, look into the library facilities, the library features and what is offered by that university. So for example, things like opening hours and accessibility may differ between universities. So if you're a night owl and you love to study in, the evening or in the later hours of the day, then of course you'd have to check if, there are facilities such as libraries or study areas that have 24/7 open access. Things like, study spaces, cafes, shops, sports facilities, and even accommodation might be, factors that you would like to consider when selecting your university. So you would want to attend open days where you can see it for yourself, and it will probably allow you to get a feel of the campus and, student life. Okay, so tip number 5 and the last tip is having a look into graduate employability. This seems like a very prospective factor, which it kind of is, but it might be worth briefly researching the graduate prospects for students who attend and graduate at each university. Because at the end of the day, attending university, going to university, you know, it's all about the experience and, you know, finding friends and whatnot, but really and truly, it's essentially a springboard to the employment industry. So you want to make sure that the university you choose really prepares you for the job market and also really supports you, you know, in that process. It might be early to think about this, but again, that is, you know, what you're going to have to look at anyway at the end of the road. So hey, it might be worth, you know, having a look at that before you even go to the university. So to conclude, there are several factors you could consider when selecting your 5 university options to apply to, but I believe that these 5 I have mentioned